The doctors said that I was clinically dead for 17 minutes, but what I experienced during that time seemed to last an eternity. My name is Marie Blank, and what I want to share is not just another story of clinical death. What happened to me that September morning completely changed my understanding of prophecy, the concept of time, and God's plan for humanity. I prayed and pondered for months whether I should share this testimony. How can you express with words something that goes beyond human language? How can you describe the colors of a place that doesn't exist on Earth? Or convey the feeling when time suddenly loses all meaning? In my heart, I know that this message is not only for me. God showed me things that others need to hear, especially in these troubled times like ours. The morning began like any other Tuesday. I had just dropped off a pot of food for the elderly members of my community and was heading to the cafe across Sterling Avenue to meet with my prayer group. The smell of fallen leaves and smoke from chimneys always reminded me of my childhood in Vermont. I remember adjusting my cream-colored vest and glancing at my watch. 7:43. I was, as usual, too early. Martha, our prayer group leader, often joked about my punctuality, or, as she called it, my pathological punctuality. The traffic lights started flashing, the signal to cross appeared, and I stepped off the curb. At that moment, my mind was occupied with thoughts of Enna, my granddaughter, who had just started her first year at university in Arizona. I often prayed for her, asking God to protect her faith in that secular environment. I remember pulling my phone from my pocket and planning to send her a short message. "Hey, sweetheart," before heading to the prayer group, and then I heard the sound of screeching tires. Time seemed to slow down. I turned my head toward the sound and saw a red van that had lost control on the slippery road. The driver's face, expressing panic, was visible through the windshield. I clearly thought, "This is how it happens." Then everything turned white. I don't remember the crash. The doctors later explained that this is normal. The brain doesn't record such traumatic moments. What I do remember is the sudden feeling of lightness, as if the physical laws that had defined my 67 years suddenly ceased to exist. A white light illuminated my vision, and suddenly, I found myself in another place. The best way to describe it is as if you were rising from a deep well and entering a reality that was more real than anything I had experienced before. The colors were brighter, more vivid. Every sensation was intensified, as though I had spent my entire life looking at the world through a dirty window, and now that glass was cleaned. There was no fear, which struck me when I looked back. I was in a place that questioned all the natural laws I knew, and at the same time I was enveloped by an overwhelming sense of peace. Not just peace, but a stunning feeling of returning home, as though every moment of my life had led me here. Then I heard a voice call Maria. My name, spoken with such love that it almost made me cry. But at the same time, it became clear to me that I no longer had physical eyes to cry with. The voice came from everywhere and yet from nothing at all. It was not a sound perceived by my ears, but a deep response within my being, within my soul. And in that moment, I knew with unwavering certainty, I was in the presence of Jesus Christ. He appeared before me, or rather, the reality around me shifted to reveal his presence. It seemed he had always been there, but my earthly eyes simply couldn't see it. His appearance matched the description in Revelation. Snow-white hair, eyes like flames of fire, feet like polished bronze. But these features, though impressive, seemed almost insignificant compared to the love and power radiating from his presence. Any attempt to describe it cannot convey the magnitude of what I experienced. How can you describe light to someone who has lived their entire life in darkness? He said, "You have been chosen to testify to what is to come. Do not be afraid." As he spoke, the space around us began to change. We were no longer in that vague realm of light that I had initially perceived. Instead, I stood next to him in a vast throne room. The architecture surrounding us defied all physical laws of the earth. Living pillars of light rose to infinity, and the floor beneath our feet seemed made of glass mixed with fire, as described in the book of Revelation. Before us stood a majestic throne, but my human mind could scarcely comprehend its true nature. It was not just an ordinary piece of furniture. It was more like a center of power and authority, radiating waves of holiness so intense that they could overwhelm my earthly senses. And on the throne was something indescribable. The glory was so immense that I could barely summon the strength to look at it. The best way to describe it would be as an attempt to look directly at the sun. But unlike ordinary light, this light was alive, conscious, and overflowing with infinite love and righteousness. In the right hand of the one seated on the throne, I saw a scroll sealed with 7 seals. The sight of the scroll brought me a profound understanding that went beyond human knowledge. I knew with absolute certainty that this scroll contained the fate of all creation, the unfolding of God's perfect plan. Then a powerful angel appeared. His voice echoed through all dimensions of reality. He asked who was worthy to open the seals and reveal the scroll. The next silence was deep, as if the entire universe was waiting for an answer. I understood with complete clarity that no created being, no matter how powerful or pure, could release the judgments in those seals. The weight of this understanding was almost unbearable. And then Jesus, the Lamb standing next to me, stepped forward. His appearance began to change. Now he appeared as John had described him in Revelation 5. The lamb that looked as though it had been slain, but was now in full strength and power. He had 7 horns and 7 eyes, symbolizing the fullness of his authority and the sevenfold Spirit of God. When he took the scroll, a wave of worship broke out around us. I saw the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders falling down before him. Then the voices united in a new song, a song that seemed to shake the very foundations of reality. The words were as follows: "You are worthy to take the scroll and open its seals, for you were slain, and by your blood, you redeemed for God people from every tribe, language, people, and nation." Then Jesus turned to me, and his appearance returned to how I had first seen him. He said to me, "Watch carefully, Ilana, for you will now be a witness. We must share this with my church." The first seal. When the Lamb opened the first seal, the sound it caused echoed through my entire being. One of the 4 living creatures cried out with a loud voice, like thunder, and before us appeared a white horse. The rider on it held a bow, and a crown was given to him. With supernatural clarity, I understood that this rider was not Christ, though he resembled his later appearance as described in Revelation 19. He embodied the spirit of conquest through deception, the false Messiah, who would deceive even the elect, if that were possible. As I watched, I had visions of how this would unfold on earth. A leader would appear who would preach words of peace and unity, but with hidden corruption. I saw how technology and global systems would be used to create the illusion of prosperity and security, while in reality, they would be paving the way for unprecedented control and deception. Jesus said gently, "Many will be deceived by the signs of the last days. Tell my people to test every spirit and hold on to my word." The deception will initially be hidden. A world without repentance, unity without truth, prosperity without righteousness. The second seal. When the Lamb opened the second seal, another living creature appeared. This time before us stood a fiery red horse. Its color was so intense that it seemed to paint the air around it. The rider held a great sword, and I understood that he had the power to take peace from the earth. The vision that followed this seal was terrifying. I saw how the false peace brought by the first rider would be destroyed. Brother will turn against brother, nations against nations. But these were not only physical wars. I saw how peace would disappear from the hearts of people, replaced by fear, hatred, and division. Jesus said, "When you see peace leaving the earth, be peacemakers and bearers of light. The darkness will seem overwhelming, but my peace is not like the world's peace. Those who set their eyes on me will have peace even in the midst of chaos." The third seal. The opening of the third seal revealed a black horse. The rider held scales, and a voice among the 4 living creatures said, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius. But do not harm the oil and the wine." The vision that followed this was horrifying. I saw the collapse of economic systems. In this, the poor suffer disproportionately, while luxury remains for the wealthy. Scarcity will be used as a weapon, making basic needs increasingly inaccessible to many people. Jesus gave me the following instruction. During these times, remember the power of the widow and the miracle with the 5,000. I am still the God who provides. My people must be generous when others are stingy, and share when others withhold. The scales of rituals may measure the wealth of the earth, but I measure the hearts of my people. The 4th seal. When the Lamb opened the 4th seal, a pale horse appeared, and the rider on it was Death, followed by Hades. The vision that accompanied this seal was almost unbearable. I saw sickness, famine, and death on a scale humanity had never experienced before. Jesus helped me understand something crucial. This seal reveals the final consequences of humanity's rejection of life. When people worship created things rather than the Creator, death inevitably follows. He said, "Do not fear those who can kill the body but not the soul. In the time of the great death, be bearers of life, my life." The 5th seal. The opening of the 5th seal revealed something different. There was no horse or rider, but the souls of the martyrs beneath the altar cried out, "How long, Holy Lord, true and righteous, will you delay judgment upon the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" I saw countless souls of believers who had been killed for their faith throughout history, as well as those who would still be killed. They were given white robes and told to wait a little longer until the number of their brothers and sisters was fulfilled. Jesus spoke with deep emotion. The blood of martyrs has always been the seed of awakening. Some, having heard their testimony, will meet death out of love for my name. Tell them that their sacrifice is precious to me. Not a drop of blood spilled for my kingdom will be in vain. Though the body dies, those who lose their life for my sake will find true life. The 6th seal. When the Lamb opened the 6th seal, the entire structure of creation seemed to tremble. I saw the sun turn black, and the moon became like blood. The stars fell to the earth like figs shaken from a tree. The sky rolled up like a scroll, and all the mountains and islands were removed from their places. The terror of the earth's inhabitants was palpable. Kings, princes, generals, the rich and the poor, all cried out to the mountains and rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb." This seal, as Jesus explained, shows that all human structures of power and the natural foundations upon which people rely will be shaken. He said, "When everything that can be shaken is shaken, remember that you are receiving a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Build your life on the rock that will never move." The 7th seal. The opening of the 7th seal brought something unexpected. A silence in heaven that seemed to last for half an hour. But this silence was not empty. It was full of meaning and anticipation. I saw 7 angels, each with a trumpet, ready to sound their blast. This silence, Jesus explained, represents a pause before the final acts of my judgment begin. It is the silence of holy expectation, a moment when all of heaven held its breath, waiting for the completion of all things. He said, "Tell my people that I work even in the silence. When they cannot hear my voice, I still have control." When the vision of the 7 seals ended, Jesus turned to me. His eyes, like flames of fire, seemed to penetrate to the very soul. He said, "Eliana, you have seen these things so that my church may prepare, not with fear but with faith." The seals are not only about judgment, they reveal my dominion over history and my faithfulness in completing what I began. He continued, "Many will doubt your testimony or question it. Some will regard it as just a dream or a hallucination. Others will try to distort it to fit their own interpretations. Just tell them what you saw and heard. The Spirit will confirm the truth for those who have ears to hear." Then Jesus showed me the final vision. I saw the church in these times of great sorrow. Instead of being defeated or retreating in fear, I saw believers shining like stars in the darkness. I saw supernatural provision, miraculous protection, and more importantly, countless souls coming to salvation, even in the midst of judgment. Therefore, you must share what you have seen. And Jesus said that this is not to instill fear, but to awaken hope. The church must understand that even the judgment of the seals serves the higher purpose of God, the salvation of humanity, and the establishment of His kingdom. Then everything began to fade, and I felt myself being drawn away. The last thing I heard was His voice, full of authority and tender love. Remember, Eliana, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last living one. I hold the keys to death and Hades. Tell my people to remain faithful unto death, and I will give them the crown of life. Returning to my physical body was a shock. One moment I was in that realm of higher reality, and the next I was aware of the pain, the bright lights of the hospital, and the sounds of medical equipment. Later, I learned that my heart had stopped for 18 minutes, and the medical team had almost declared me dead when suddenly my heart began to beat again. They called it a miracle, as they could not explain how I survived without brain damage after such a prolonged clinical cessation of the heart. I was amazed at how quickly I recovered from the physical injuries. I had several broken bones and internal bleeding, but within a few weeks, I was almost fully healed. But the greatest miracle was not in my survival or healing. It is the absolute certainty that I now carry in my heart regarding God's sovereignty over human history. This experience completely changed my perspective on everything, on current events, personal trials, and even death itself. When you see the Lamb opening the seals of human destiny, when you witness how every moment of history is under His control, it is impossible to succumb to fear of the future. Now I understand why God gave me this vision. It was not only for me. This is a message of warning and hope for the church. Yes, difficult times will come, times that will test our faith to the limit, but Jesus remains the one who opens every seal. Every judgment that falls serves His ultimate purpose, salvation. As I share this testimony, I pray that it strengthens your faith and helps you understand that our God remains sovereign even in the darkest times yet to come. The same Jesus who holds the flower and opens the seals holds us in His hands. Nothing, neither persecution nor economic collapse, nor natural disasters, nor even death itself, can separate us from His love. Remember the words of Jesus, "Be faithful unto death, hold fast to what you believe, and when you see these things begin to take place, lift up your eyes, for your redemption draws near." In conclusion, I want to emphasize that this experience was not meant to satisfy curiosity about future events, but to understand the nature of God and His faithfulness, as revealed through the seals. His righteousness, yes, but also His mercy. Even in judgment, He works to bring people to repentance, to separate light from darkness, and to establish His kingdom. My prayer is that this testimony helps you remain steadfast in faith, regardless of what may come. Let it remind you that the one who holds the flower is the same one who died for our sins and rose again. He is worthy, He is in control, and He is coming soon. This is my testimony. Every word is truth, for God is my witness. May He give you ears to hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches in these decisive times. If this message has touched you and you want to learn more about the sovereignty of God, the signs of the times, and how to prepare for the days ahead, subscribe to our channel and join us in this journey of faith. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss new content. May God bless your life with wisdom and peace.